Some of your listeners may have asthma or a family member that has asthma. And so today they can get medicine called the Advair Discus. And the discus is a cool purple kind of thing that has a month's worth of doses of asthma medicine. You know, a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we do something great, customers love it, and then we go, oh, I'm really good. You know, everything is fine. The reality is your customers only love it because they haven't seen anything better yet, right? The basic idea is if we know a lot about something, we can make it better. We know so much about it and the details, we can add a feature, we can support it better, we can provide a better technical manual, we can create a better supply chain. Not everything is going to go your way. And so you can either say, God, I really kind of screwed up here, or you can say to yourself, I'm not going to please everybody. I'm moving on to the next, you know?
Welcome back to the Hustle and Grind podcast, the show where we dig into why real entrepreneurs trade comfort for conviction. This isn't about vanity metrics or overnight success. It's about the stories behind building a reputation that actually matters. I'm your host, Andrew, keynote architect, platform builder, and fellow founder in the trenches. Today, I'm sitting down with Alan Gregerman, the Chief Innovation Officer of Washington, D.C.-based consultancy VentureWorks, a best-selling author and a sought-after keynote speaker who has been called one of the most original thinkers in business today. He's an internationally renowned authority on business strategy and innovation who focuses on helping companies and organizations unlock the genius in all of their people. His new book, The Wisdom of Ignorance, provides a powerful formula for making a difference in an uncertain world, a topic Alan has a unique, personal, and powerful perspective on. Alan, thank you so much for being on today. I really appreciate it. Really excited to have you on today.
Well, thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
Awesome. Cool. So we heard a little bit about what you do as far as in our intro, but tell me a little bit more in your words. What do you do? What's your secret ninja skill?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, so I'm actually an innovation consultant, and I've been doing that for a few years. Actually, I started being an innovation consultant long before innovation was like a buzzword. And now I feel like every company, whether they're innovative or not, needs to talk about being innovative because customers expect that from them. But I do that. I work with companies and organizations around the world to help them unlock the genius of their people, basically to deliver greater value to their customers. So that means either creating new products, services, solutions, new business models. I work on a lot of projects in which we help to reinvent the customer experience. I'm not the person responsible if you have a bad AI customer experience. But so we do all kinds of things. But ultimately, we're trying to help our customers create greater value for the people they serve.
That's really interesting because you're right. It's everyone followed you as far as innovation is concerned, and everyone wants the most innovative thing. And, you know, it is a huge buzzword right now. But so let's do this in a world of case studies. Like, is there a client you've really helped that can give like a specific case study of this person did this and got this? Gives people a little bit more reality, like exactly what innovator means. One of the problems we run into with buzzwords is people slew it around all over everywhere like mayo on a sandwich, but they don't quite realize what it actually means, right? So I figured that'll help. Yeah, no,
that's fine. So I have lots of examples, but let me give a few to you. So some of your listeners may have asthma or a family member that has asthma. And so today they can get medicine called the Advair Discus. And the discus is a cool purple kind of thing that has a month's worth of doses of asthma medicine. The trouble with a lot of medicines is we don't generally adhere to the medicines as well or religiously or as we should. And so I worked with a customer to try and figure out how we got people to take their regular asthma medicine, because the reality is that they missed a dose, they fell far behind. And so we created this cool thing. You can Google it on the web, called the Advair, Advair Discus, in which basically you get a cool purple kind of round thing you can put in your pocket. You carry around, and each day you take a dose, you take a puff, then you turn it and you take a puff the next day. So that was kind of going from just taking a pill to a delivery mechanism, a different way to take a drug that dramatically improved adherence to the drug. So that's one. Another customer wanted to reduce the cost of packaging their products worldwide. Big international company. They also wanted to make sure that their stuff was safe, but also more sustainable. I took them, because I like to take people wandering around, I took them to a produce market and I asked them to buy fruits and vegetables that protected themselves well for the long journey that they have to take to get to you eating them. And so we took all these fruits and vegetables and we brought them back into a room. Instead of saying who has a brilliant idea, we said, let's take these apart because nature has some brilliant ideas. It packages things all the time. And we took these and took them apart and looked at how they were created. The result, without going into lots of details, was they saved $155 million a year in packaging their products and had less breakage.
Interesting. That's a really cool job. I mean, it's similar to kind of what entrepreneurs do. We problem solve. So you're basically a professional a creative problem solver. Would that be accurate?
I like to think, So I like to think that I've worked with 400 different companies, entrepreneurs often, who are trying to do something remarkable. And I get the privilege of spending 6 months with them trying to help them figure it out. And I bring different frameworks than they might have because they get stuck in the details. My new book, The Wisdom of Ignorance, is all about the idea that if you know a lot, you get stuck in the details. If you don't know much, that's kind of me at times. You can think about big ideas. And so I think that's kind of cool. A customer said to me, so Alan, you're like a genius at not knowing stuff. Is that right? And I said, well, kind of, sort of.
Yeah. That's the Japanese concept of the beginner's mind going
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Where oftentimes as entrepreneurs, we get stuck in our world, or even companies get stuck in their worlds going, well, the asthma inhaler has been the same. We don't see that there's an opportunity for growth here because, again, like we were talking about with Advair, the asthma inhaler had been the same for decades. So
people had taken pills. Well, first people used herbs and then they took pills and they were doing that, right? And so, but you're raising like a vital point for all of the people listening. And that is, a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we do something great. Customers love it. And then we go, oh, I'm really good. Everything is fine. The reality is your customers only love it because they haven't seen anything better yet, right? Yeah. Customers love taxi cabs because it was the only way to get a ride. Then Uber came along and they said, well, taxi cabs are pretty lame. And so the reality is, so everybody listening should understand you could be awesome, but a month from now or a year from now, you could be irrelevant. You've always got to think about how to disrupt yourself.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's like Henry Ford said, if we asked people what they wanted, they'd say a better horse because they didn't know there was another option.
But he named his cars after horses eventually.
He didn't really want to disappoint the Mustang.
That's the better horse, okay?
True story. So one of the questions I love asking whenever I come across anyone is, what was the sequence of events that brought you to being an innovator? Like what happened? There's got to be a good story behind it. And I
don't know if it's a good story, but there are two stories behind it. So I'd love to share those. So the first is my first job, and this will date me, but if people see me, they say I have what hair I have left I have is gray. My first job was with a giant company. I don't even know if they still exist, called Westinghouse. And I was a propulsion technician out of high school. I went to a vocational high school. And I was a propulsion technician. I worked for 2 years building subway cars for BART, the subway in San Francisco, as a Westinghouse employee. During those 2 years, I suggested 10 things they could do to improve the way they assembled subway cars. And none of them, I got like nice notes, from the plant manager. Thank you for your idea. Go back to work. And so 3 years later, I got a note from Westinghouse saying that they'd accepted a few of my ideas, but because I wasn't an employee, I couldn't get the benefit of it. I wouldn't get the reward for doing it. That's okay. Made me realize in big companies, as opposed to entrepreneurial companies, they often don't appreciate innovation. So here I was, a guy who my nature was to think about a better way. I had an incentive to think about a better way. If you could be faster in the job they assigned you every hour, you could play dominoes in the lunchroom with your buddies. And so, I figured if I worked 25 minutes every hour, I could play a lot of dominoes. I got really good. Okay, that was the first one. The second one was insane. So I go to university after being a subway mechanic. And then I go to grad school and I decide I'm going to get a PhD. For some odd reason, I thought I would be a professor. I hated graduate school. I mean, I ended up getting a PhD, but I absolutely hated graduate school. Halfway through graduate school, a friend of mine said, there's a group of entrepreneurs in Detroit who are trying to keep their businesses going. They would love somebody just to help them who's creative. You're a creative guy. I mentioned your name. I went to work with these guys 2 evenings a week. I drive into Detroit from Ann Arbor. And I worked with them, and I really loved these folks. They were trying to make a difference. They were working like dogs. They weren't fighting over petty BS. This is a family show, right? But they weren't fighting over petty BS, which is what was going on in the university. So I said, I'm going to finish my PhD because I never start anything and not finish it. Maybe I should change that. But, and then as soon as I finished, I went to work, working with entrepreneurs and companies to help them figure out how to come up with new ideas.
I think that is a really good example of an entrepreneurial journey, because a lot of times we start in jobs. We realize I started in a training job and I was always trying to fix things. And my company's like, no, you just go do your job. You're all good. And I hated it. Absolutely hated it because I couldn't innovate. I couldn't do what I knew was best. I couldn't help, I couldn't say, hey, let's do this cool thing and implement it over here. And it sounds like you have the same thing as well. And I think a lot of people are going to resonate with that because it's such, we think different. And, the standard 9-to-5 job doesn't think that way.
Well,
right?
No, I think you're exactly right. And even what we study, so I finally go to college. My dad was an engineer. I enroll as an engineering student. I go for a year to engineering classes. There's like one answer to every single engineering problem, and you've got to understand it and be able to take a test and solve it. And I go, isn't there like another way to do this? And the professor goes, I think you're in the wrong major.
I started off with an engineering degree, so I 100% understand what you're talking about, that it was just like, no, wait, I reject your reality. I substitute my own. I think there's something better.
But that's what entrepreneurs do, right? They say there's a better way to do something. Otherwise, why would you start a business? So exactly. I start my business because I'm determined 37 years ago that companies can be more innovative. Still determined to do that today. But when I started it, I had to convince people that you could help them be more innovative. Now it's like, we've talked to like 37 innovation consultants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now between that and the current company, so you've always been a person who's kind of tried to innovate and tried to get better. How did you get into that market? Because at this point, it would have been a new market, right? This isn't something that was common.
Yeah, so think about it. So I write books about business as well. I mentioned my newest one that's coming out soon is called The Wisdom of Ignorance. But I'm always thinking about, I actually have a PhD in geography. Now, people go, do you know all the state capitals? And I go, well, I do know the state capitals, but I know something else, and that is that there are lots of great ideas around the world. The world is pretty big. And so I start thinking about all these kind of great ideas, okay? And I want to launch my business. They're big consulting firms, strategy firms, McKinsey, Boston Consulting Group, Bain and Company. They have all the big customers. I think about a company I love called LL Bean, and some of your listeners probably have bought something from LL Bean. Started in 1912, and they started with something called an unconditional guarantee of satisfaction, okay? If you bought something from them and you weren't happy with it, you could return it. No questions asked, they'd give you your money back. I started as a consultant 37 years ago, competing against these big firms. I go to a division of Monsanto called the NutraSweet Company. They make the thing that allows you to drink Diet Coke and not feel super guilty. Not talking about whether the laboratory rats somewhere are struggling, but you're okay. And I say to them, look, I can help you. I can help you more than the other folks. I can help you for two reasons. One is I think I'm creative, and I'm not going to leave you till we figure out how to solve this problem. The big consulting firms write studies and say, good luck. And then if you do a bad job, it's on you. And I said, but one other thing, I'll offer you an unconditional guarantee of satisfaction. If you're not happy with the work I do, you don't have to pay me. And so that was the first customer I got. And the reality is we've had the unconditional guarantee of satisfaction for 37 years in our business. And we're not going to get rid of it. LL Bean got rid of theirs in 2019. We're not going to get rid of it. So everything we do, we guarantee. That was the way that I broke into the business. Okay. I found a company that wanted to innovate, and I told them I was going to hang in there with them and help them get it right.
Huh. So how many people have taken you, just curiosity, how many people have taken you up on your unconditional
1
guarantee?
hour. In 37 years, one company asked if we would redo 1 hour of our work.
Huh. And that's one of the things that I wanted to bring up is a lot of people are scared about doing, like Sears doesn't do their Craftsman guarantee anymore and stuff like that. But there's some social proof in that where you're so confident in what you're doing. You're like, look, there's no risk. It makes it stupid. It's I heard it referred to somewhere as shut up and take my money. It's such a stupid decision, but it works. And it doesn't necessarily mean people are going to take
it does two things. One is it works. The second is it forces me and all the members of our team to be awesome every day. Yeah. We wake up every day and we say we have to live the guarantee. Okay? So it's not like we can have an off day. That's kind of fun, actually, because it forces us to be our best all the time. So if I'm not at my best, I got to do it on my own time, not on the customer's time.
Absolutely. That is I like that a lot, actually. Huh. Oh, that's really cool. So you've got into the business. What has been your favorite part of innovation? Like what is the thing that you love the most that kind of gets you up every morning that makes you say, I need to stand up to the guarantee? What's the most fun part of it?
So there are two fun parts for me. And I mentioned we've worked with like 400 companies and organizations around the world. Mm-hmm. The first fun part is I actually believe that we're not going to be innovative in the places where we work, that the way we innovate is to get out and look at the world around us. So I take teams of people exploring cities, out in nature, looking for brilliant ideas as the starting point for their own best thinking. When we have an aha moment, when somebody or a team says, wow, that's an amazing idea. They do that in that business, never been done in our industry. I bet we could adapt that to our industry. That's super exciting to me. And then the second is when they actually do it and we implement it, and then I get to go when they launch their new idea. That's super exciting. So as an example of that, so I've worked with a chain of private hospitals based in Malaysia, and there are 31 hospitals throughout Southeast Asia. And their focus was they were going to create an amazing customer experience. Actually need to bring them back to the U.S. because I think our healthcare customer experience is not quite as amazing as it used to be. We opened this experience. We devised an experience in which customers would feel from the moment they arrived, they were welcomed, they were educated, there were no surprises. They walked through an experience that they felt was positive and valuable. They didn't sit around a lot wondering what was going on. So when we launched this in the first hospital in Kuala Lumpur, and I got to be there and be kind of with some of the customers as they walked on their healthcare journey and said, whoa, this is better than any other hospital I've been in, that was kind of cool.
So we've alluded to it a couple of times, and I want to make sure we get into it because in a couple of weeks it's going to release. Talk to me about your book, The Wisdom of Ignorance.
Okay, so I love this book. I thought you might ask, so I have a copy here, The Wisdom of Ignorance. I would love everybody who's listening to buy it. And spoiler alert, on the 14th and 15th of October, it's going to go on sale for 2 days for 99 cents on Amazon. Please buy it then. It's actually kind of, and then I hope you like it so much you'll buy a hard copy. I would be glad to sign a copy for you. Here's the basic idea. The basic idea is if we know a lot about something, we can make it better. We know so much about it and the details, we can add a feature, we can support it better, we can provide a better technical manual, we can create a better supply chain, we can do the details of it, we can make it better. If we want to create a breakthrough, we need to not know very much. So expertise is valuable. Not knowing stuff is really genius if we apply it in the right way. And then the book provides a formula for how all of us can be awesome at not knowing stuff and create breakthroughs. So that's what the book is about. I I guess I'm super excited about it. I got to be honest.
Sure.
I even have a poster behind me about it. No, I'm really excited about it. I believe this book is going to be valuable. So let's go back to what we were talking about.
Yeah.
If one of your listeners buys this book, not the e-version, but if they buy the real book and don't find it valuable, I'll refund their money personally. I unconditionally guarantee that they'll find value in this book.
That's amazing. And so you'll find the ability to be able to purchase that book. It's pre-order at this point. So because this episode comes out a couple of weeks before the book's released, look down in the show notes and you'll be able to find out where to purchase or where to pre-order.
They can, of course, buy it anywhere they like. If they like an independent bookstore, just ask them to get it for them if they're not stocking it. If they like to buy on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or Books A Million or another, please feel free to go on there. Amazon is good for me only because they're the ones that do like bestsellery things, so I wouldn't mind. But whatever. I just want people to get these ideas.
Absolutely. So in the little bit of time we have left, one of the things I like to do is I have to ask people, what is one piece of advice you would give somebody who's just starting off on their entrepreneurial journey based on your 37 years of experience of doing this? Like, what's one thing that would really be useful? You
just mentioned how old I was. No, that's okay. I'm okay.
You started when you were 10, so you're good. It's all good.
So if I were to give one piece of advice that has been the most valuable advice for me that I got, well, I have a few, but let me give you one to start. And it's behind me. I don't know if people can see it. It's the word next, okay? So I want everybody to think about the word next. I'm starting a business. I need to raise some funds potentially. I need to get initial customers. I need to hire initial employees. I hope I hire awesome people. I need to perfect my product. I need to work with suppliers, whatever the case is. Not everything is going to go your way. And so you can either say, God, I really kind of screwed up here. Or you can say to yourself, I'm not going to please everybody. I'm moving on to the next, And so that means we have to have a lot of eggs in our basket, okay? Because if I have only one egg in my basket, I better not sit on it too hard and break it. But if I have a lot of eggs, then suddenly I have a lot of possibilities, So I can't just talk to one potential employee. I got to interview a bunch of people. I can't just talk to one customer. I got to talk to a bunch because even if I'm awesome, some customers are going to be stupid. No, I'm not going to say that about that. Some customers are going to say,
not a good fit.
I'm not going to hire you, okay? And I could take it personally, or I could say, hey, it's on them. They're missing out. I got to keep moving forward. I think that's the important thing. The other piece, you probably don't want so much advice, but the other piece I'd give people is, and I think about it today, is don't just send a lot of crazy marketing messages and sales messages to people that are generic. They couldn't care less. Somebody told me, nobody wants another email. Everybody wants another me-mail. And so if you can't send them something that makes them think you think they're awesome and you know something about them, don't even waste your time. And so I only connect with people that I've watched a video on YouTube or I've read about them somewhere and I think they're awesome. And I begin every communication, if I didn't know them, with, I read this about you. I am so inspired by what you're trying to do. So it's me mail. So we got to connect with customers personally. I don't care what business you're in. You got to do that. And you got to have a thick skin and say next.
So to talk on the first point, whenever somebody says no, I have a lead that's like, no, I'm not really interested. I always take that as self-selection. It's not meant in a bad way. It's more, this person wasn't meant to work with me. And I don't work with everyone either, because there's some people, we might be able to do good things. They're good at what they do. I'm good at what I do, but we may not be a good match, right? I only want to work with folks that I'm aligned with. But as far as the emails, I think that's even more important, because right now in the world of AI, where I can write an email very quickly and write a large number of them that are decent. I wouldn't say they're great, but they're decent. That's something that I think we're going to see, is that lack of connection. And if you have that connection with somebody, I think you're going to have a leg up over the folks that are just, popping out 50 emails from ChatGPT and hoping they work, right?
Well, yeah. And now let's be honest. If I'm just selling coffee mugs to people, it's probably a commodity. I've either got to do something better or lower my price. But if any of the people listening are selling a relatively high ticket item, It's either something they've made that cost a lot, or a service they provide that could cost a fair amount, or a warranty product. Whatever the case is, I really need to connect with these customers as an individual, let them know who I am and that I care. And I can't tell you how important it is to a customer to believe they talk to the boss or the person who started the company. It actually really matters to them. So while I'm not the most beautiful guy on the planet, the customers actually like about our stuff to talk to me, okay? They're not asking me to model, of course.
Exactly. And that's why, like, my emails, I make sure people know that I'm the founder of the company. You're right. People
Good.
like to hear that, especially for higher ticket items.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Alan, thank you so much for being on the show and spreading so much wisdom. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no, super. Well, thank you for having me on the show. I hope this was valuable to your audience, and I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for tuning into the Hustle and Grind podcast, where we unpack what it really takes to build something that matters. If today's conversation hit home, do me a favor. Share it with someone who's in the trenches too. And if you're building your own brand, platform, or message and want help turning that story into serious authority, head over to theauthorityforge.com to see how we can help. Until next time, keep showing up, keep shipping, and keep chasing the work that sets you on fire. I'm Andrew, and this was the Hustle and Grind podcast.